Ladies and gentlemen, the Parliament of Ukraine adopted a number of important laws to significantly improve Ukraine's investment climate and make our country more competitive on the global investment arena. Incentives for substantial investments are industrial parks, land market, transparent privatization. All these initiatives are important factors of improving investment attractiveness of Ukraine. I would like to give the floor to Galina Yanchenko, the head of the Committee on the Investment Rights of Ukraine. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I welcome you on behalf of Ukraine Invest Supervisory Board, which I'm a member of, and on behalf of Ukrainian Parliament. In 2020, the President of Ukraine announced increasing investment, one of the governmental priority. And after 3 years gone, we can say that all the branches of power collaborate and work on establishing a quality policy in this area. Speaking about the Parliament of Ukraine, which I present, I can say that this year there are such initiatives were adopted as the law on land markets, the incentive law to the investment nanny law, and the incentives to entrepreneurs working in industrial parks, and facilitating connection to electricity network. All these initiatives established conditions for investors for more comfortable work in Ukraine. And also they gave a political message that Ukrainian power is, Ukrainian government is committed to cooperation, and that Ukrainian government welcomes foreign and domestic investors, and we will facilitate this cooperation.
Of course, as a member of Ukraine Invest, who is now performing the functions of the Secretariat, I want to focus in more detail on this opportunity and tell you more about this initiative. We are all hoping that in the near future, all the preparatory work will be finalized, and all the legislative acts are finalized, and all the legislative changes will be adopted. And it means that those investors, both Ukrainians and foreigners, who are interested in this opportunity, at the beginning of the next year, will be adopted to the program and will start working on the program. This initiative involves a whole number of opportunities, benefits, and incentives for investors, including 5 key ones. First of all, tax-free requirements, requirements on benefits for customs, and receiving state or state land without a special procedure of trades, and building of infrastructure budgets funded by the state budget. During the last month, I had an opportunity to visit a number of regions to talk with heads of state oblast administrations, and some of them are here here today. And local governments are looking forward into the future, and they are ready to cooperate. They are ready to reallocate those budgets that will be incoming to them, and they will allocate them to the incentives that I named earlier, and to help the investors which will be entering in the framework of the law on investment nanny. Moreover, the state is planning to to sign specialized investment agreements with the investors who will use this opportunity, and it means that the state can offer more than just this just an oral promise, but actually sign and make their promise formal. And I don't want to distract you from further discussions, so I want to focus on the key thing here. All these initiatives, the ones mentioned by the Prime Minister and the ones mentioned by me, and the ones that will be mentioned by the panelists in their further discussions, will not work at a large scale without this key requirement, without full trust from the private sector. And that is why I want to highlight the importance of such events and such platforms. And I want to highlight the importance of formal and informal communication. And I want to focus on the importance on receiving feedback from the private sector for us, for the representatives of the government, because we are working for you, we are working for the society, we are working for the development of the economy, and it's crucial for us to receive the positive signals that those initiatives developed by us, that those initiatives adopted by us are useful, and those initiatives, you can work with those initiatives and they can really be beneficial for you and create comfortable conditions for you. Thank you for the invitation, and I wish you a fruitful event. Thank you, Ms. Halina. So, and I want to congratulate everyone on the opening of the forum. And right now we are going to watch a video making UA, which will demonstrate that Ukraine has all the chances to become the leading manufacturing hub in Ukraine. Please, let's look at the screen.
Друзі, поаплодуємо, давай.
Let's have a round of applause to the results presented by Ukraine. And now let me invite David Arhamia, Member of Parliament of Ukraine, head of the deputy faction of the political party Servant of the People, and head of the supervisory board of UkraineInvest. Please welcome David. Good afternoon, everyone. I am happy to congratulate you on the opening of this event. And I can actually switch to English if we have a lot of foreign guests, but we have interpreters here. So I will be very brief, and I will just focus on what we are working on right now and how these things are supposed to work, because a lot of people, a lot of investors are right now interested in Ukrainian projects, but they are upset by our what is called in English complexity, because there are a lot of various layers involved, a lot of layers of red tape in Ukraine, and there is decentralization, there are local governments, there is national government, there is a system of approval, and there are law enforcement agencies. And especially when people from foreign countries want to invest in Ukraine, they usually hire some legal company, and this company usually gives them a 2-hour lecture, and they understand how many complicated things should be done before actually working on their investments. So we are working on so-called way of investor customer journey map. So we are trying to simplify this way thanks to the legislative initiatives and thanks to legislative acts. And that's why Ukraine Invest was created. That's why it is cooperating with the Prime Minister, because so that it can be an intermediary between all those bureaucratic institutions and ministries, because all large-scale questions, they are usually inter-ministerial, because they involve cooperation and approvals between different ministries and all sorts of approvals. So we worked and created a large number of projects, and I think that Serhiy will be presenting this later. Over $1.9 billion pipeline. And we need to understand that when we say pipeline, it doesn't mean that $1.9 billion of requests will necessarily become 1.9 billion of real direct investments in Ukrainian enterprises or Ukrainian projects, because at the beginning of this pipeline's work, some projects get cancelled. So our task is, when this project gets cancelled because an entrepreneur who wanted to invest decided to stop and not to invest because, for example, they calculated everything and took into account some large market risks, or they do not believe that they will be able to sell their products in the scale in the volume they decided. That's okay, this is a normal process. But if they decided not to move forward because the state does not facilitate this process, does not support this process, or maybe there are too many regulations involved in this process, this is our task then. And from you, we want to first of all receive feedback, because when we work with all 25 requests within Invest Nannies, we already worked on a lot of legislative changes, both at the level of laws and the level of legislative acts, and it is an ongoing process. And I invite you all to join our cooperation, and I want all of us together in the next year, when we are going to open the next year's conference. I want us to have some case study. For example, last year we had first request, so next time I want us to show some results. There are a lot of large projects, such as long-term projects such as construction, and there are short-term projects that will be built and export-oriented that will be finalized next year. You know that we adopted a draft law on industrial parks, and I think the day after tomorrow there will be a last reading on the tax regulations, and then there will be a lot of things that will allow you to open your enterprises within the modern conditions and following a simplified procedure, when the state will be able to co-fund the infrastructure. And you know some famous cases for which we feel sorry as politicians, but we have to be open about them. For example, the enterprise head who decided to build the plant, and they built it, and then for a number of years they waited who would pay for electricity. So for so you will be paying large amounts for electricity. You will have to pay before that $2 billion. So in that case, the investor was declining this project, not because they didn't have this money, but because this money was not included in their business plan. And we as a state did not have any mechanism to regulate this. And currently in Chaplinka, at the border with Crimea, there is a company, Crafusion. There is a huge enterprise being built, and the situation was very similar. And the president was visiting this site because there was a need to connect them to electricity, and the amount of money was similar, $2 or $3 billion. So everybody was involved, and that case was luckily solved. So I gave these examples because we have some large-scale goals, but usually investors are faced with some barriers they cannot overcome, and even if governmental officials, ministers are involved in this process, it is sometimes very difficult to carry out. And that's why Ukraine Invest was created, because it is helpful in this system when you can go to one place, inform about all your problems, in all because you are like a jungle of state institutions, and Ukraine Invest will find the necessary institutions and will help you work this out, and it will not charge you a large commission like it is a case in some other countries when such organizations charge for such investments, because this project is financed directly from the state, so that you can build enterprises here and create workplaces here. Thank you, and I hope and I wish us to have more projects in our countries. Thank you. Thank you, David Georgievich. So, friends, as we can see, new economic reality gives Ukraine a unique opportunity to become an important link in the global supply chain. And for that, we have a number of benefits. First of all, it's a unique location of Ukraine at the crossroads of trade paths of Europe, Asia, and Middle East. Secondly, Ukraine can be proud of highly qualified professionals and talented professionals. And third of all, we have a large selection of greenfield and brownfield objects. And in order to strengthen this attractiveness of Ukraine in terms of investment at the global scale, and to communicate to the international community that Ukraine is a platform for very successful businesses, Ukraine Invest initiated a program, Make in Ukraine. The purpose of this program is to attract investment in manufacturing sector of Ukraine. And now I am happy to invite Serhiy Tsivkach, Executive Director of Ukraine Invest, who will present Make in UA program. Good afternoon. I'm happy to see everyone. Thank you for visiting this event today, and thank you for Ukraine's Prime Minister. Thank you to the head of the Supervisory Board and the Deputy Head and the other Deputy Head of the Supervisory Board. And today we wanted to talk about manufacturing as a key part of creating Ukraine's economy. Ukraine Invest is working on various investments. It attracts investment in energy field and infrastructure field. We facilitate the work of other ministries and help them popularize their programs and involve more investors. But what's more important for us, though, an important factor for us is attracting investment in manufacturing, because it promotes new workplaces, because it promotes the development of technology, because those are the products produced and consumed in Ukraine, and we need to develop our manufacturing sector. And as you could see today, the share of manufacturing in the GDP of Ukraine is 11.7%. This is the largest figure in the last 3 years, and we need to increase this figure, and we need to develop this sector. And today we will present our program shortly, the program of attracting investment in the manufacturing sector of Ukraine. And this is actually the theme of our event, because for each event we select a topic, and this time this is manufacturing. So what is the plan of our program? The plan of our program is to increase the annual flow of direct foreign investment in Ukraine until 2025 at the level of $5+ billion US dollars. As of now, Based on the first 6 months of 2020, the flow of foreign investment in manufacturing is 1.5 billion US dollars. And this is also one of the best figures. And it's not the end of the year yet, so we will see even better results at the end of the year. And 11.7% in the share of manufacturing in the economy of Ukraine. How are we working with this program? The program is, first of all, analysis and research, because we should not only talk about the potential, we should talk about how specifically we should attract investment in which region or in which company in Ukraine. And this is the only way how we can communicate at the same level with powerful investment and manufacturing companies. Secondly is identifying the specific investment opportunities, and our role is crucial here during coordinating the work of Ukrainian regions with foreign investors, because in this way we are a mediator, we boost their investment cooperation, and working on this program after we find some niche investment opportunities with foreign companies, we are offering them some our last achievement in the regulatory policies that promote the development of manufacturing. And these developments involve investment nannies law, which involves some state support. And I want to congratulate us again, because today the first formal request was applied to the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, and the next request would be applied by the end of the year, and the general amount is 96 billion US dollars involved in these projects. And of course, the first project is always the most difficult, because one has to undergo all the system that has been created for the first time, but after that, these projects will be increasing. The second point is industrial parks, and we will focus on them later, localization, and we will talk about it with the members of parliament who are facilitating this process, and of course, privatization, because the process of privatization has already started, it's underway, but it has to move forward. It's very important for us, especially to facilitate small privatization, because it involves brownfields where producers can enter from Ukraine and from foreign countries, and they can modernize and develop their enterprises at the platforms. What pilot projects are we selecting for, first of all? We analyze the countries who are partners and we have good relations with and have good manufacturing. And there are first 5 projects. The first project will be implemented with the US. The second country is UK. Then we have Germany, France, and a bloc of Scandinavian countries. If we look at the general amount of direct foreign investment from these countries as of today, it involves 8.5 billion US dollars. And if we look at the amount of these investments, specifically in manufacturing, as of now, the number is 2.3 billion US dollars. And our goal is until 2025 to increase the amount of direct foreign investment by 4 times from these countries. Which primary sectors from our point of view are important? Of course, there are traditional sectors that are being developed in Ukraine. This involves agriculture, pharmacy, automobile production, production of furniture, production of metal production, but we are also focusing on sectors that has a high level of innovation and a high level of added value, which involves electric car production, electro batteries production, and research activity in the field of industry. It's important because it will help us move to new and high quality production and research in the medical field, which is highly important right now, especially during the pandemic. And of course, there is electronics and electrical equipment. So we have started working with some partners right now, but the number of partners will be increasing, because it's all about partnership, and it's about how we can cooperate on a win-win basis, which is a good expression in the English language, which means when two sides are winning and play and have the same rules of game. First of all, it's Institute for Collaborative Working, which is an organization created in 1990s in the UK by the Trade and Industry Department. This is World Trade Center, which is which already has a representation in Ukraine. And this organization unites over 90 countries and has over 4,000 partner companies. It's also Berlin Economics, an organization which is working with the world governments of over 15 countries and provides them with best analytics. And of course, it's regional agencies of development from our regions, and its oblast state administrations, its city councils, and representatives of territorial communities, because we need to collect information, we need to create an investment map, and these results will be presented on Make in UA portal, where each investor will be able to find a place where they can lead their business or find a partner to create a joint cooperation.
And the special example I would like to stop on, it is VDL Bustle Coach Company, the leader in the manufacturing of electric vehicles in Europe. Their annual turnover is 5 billion euro per year. And we started with them a program on investigating the ways to turn our country into a center of development of electric vehicles production and lithium battery production in Ukraine. This is a very important slide. I would like to thank to our USAID partners for supporting our activities and this program, and for providing us an opportunity to work together and to achieve our goal, which we set until 2030. And the last message from me, we have a very well-developed IT sector considered to others, compared to other sectors of economy. When you come to the UK, all you hear is about the breakthrough of the IT and tech sectors. And I hope that the next sector will be, which will be a breakthrough, will be the sector of manufacturing. I thank you very much, and let's move to the roundtable discussion. Thank you, Sergei. I hope that this presentation will become a big stimulus for manufacturing development in Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, Ukraine economy needs state stimulation of 5 clusters, which are machine engineering, agriculture, IT sector, and the investment of these in these clusters will bring the biggest results. And one of the main priorities of the government is to continue implementation of the reforms which will improve the investment climate in Ukraine. And I give the floor to Mr. Oleg Nemchinov, the Deputy Minister of Economic of Ukraine. Good morning, good afternoon, dear colleagues. Actually, in Ukraine, our friends and guests say that during the recent years, Ukraine has undergone so many reforms that you can compare them with the 28 years of Ukrainian independence. And this will give Ukraine a full right membership in the European Union, and the success of the path selected by Ukraine is in consolidation of this reform and in the synergy of efforts of the President of Ukraine and the government of Ukraine. It is adoption of a number of documents and including the adoption of the agreement on compliance of commodities in 2022. And a big event for Ukrainian manufacturers was the adoption of the law on investment nannies and the relevant bylaws allowing to implement it. This law envisages the system of governmental support to the investment projects, which meet very strict, very clear criteria. And the Prime Minister just mentioned that two of such projects will be soon reviewed by the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, and if I'm not mistaken, the total of this investment will be $1.9 billion. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the order of interaction and support of investment projects. The methodology of calculating the volume of governmental support for investment project implementation. In December 2000, as of December 2021, UkraineInvest supports the projects of, with investment of $1.9 billion. Among these projects, the projects amounting to 1.1 billion will be implemented in processing industry, and 0.4 billion in logistics. There are also other projects in transport sector and food processing sector. We are a challenged country, but we are a country that wants to develop. We have adopted the strategy of economic development by 2030, and step by step we are moving towards reaching these targets. Thank you, and I wish you fruitful work today. Thank you. Regional development is the prerequisite for investment attractiveness of the country. The state budget for 2022 envisages the main financial tools of state supports of territorial communities, including the financing of the State Regional Development Fund and the support of of industrial parks and innovative infrastructure. This will help the regions to develop their economic potential. I give the floor to Ivan Lukeri, the Deputy Minister of Community and Territorial Development. Dear colleagues, dear guests, dear UkraineInvest team, I am very happy to welcome you here in the second annual forum. And I think this is a very important event where Ukraine can present its investment potential, which is presented in the legal framework, in the regulatory framework. And as you know, with the successful completion of decentralization reform in context of the land decentralization, the communities became one of the main entities. Actually, they became the investment nanny for attracting private investments to regions. And today, the communities are most interested to compete for investors, for private investors to come to their territory. Therefore, for us, working with regions and with communities is very important, and our main task is to reveal the potential of the communities and of the regions. And the main components here are the quality strategic planning at the regional level, where each region must have their own strategic plan, how they're going to compete with other regions and reveal their capacity. 1/3 of territorial communities have already endorsed the strategies of local development, and each community is expected to have a very clear strategic plan by the end of 2022. Our second task is to create comfortable living conditions in communities, and this also facilitates attracting investment, starting with equality, social infrastructure, centers of administrative service provision, schools, road construction. This is actually the roads and the airports infrastructure is actually what brings together our regions, connects our regions, and this helps the potential investors to establish production facilities in the regions. The new the the new area, which is also important for investment, is solving the issue with the water supply, and this is planned for the next year as well. For us, for the next year, among the new key tools are the industrial parks. The industrial parks must become an investment hub for each investor, where the entry threshold is much lower to bring in private capital and to start production. An industrial park is a plot of land with all the necessary infrastructure, which reduces the cost of production for private investors. And for the next year, the state budget provides for building up the infrastructure of the industrial parks, and we will take a very simple approach. The investment the industrial park, our plan is to support the first investors willing to invest in the industrial parks. And we need to see that the private investor is ready to invest into the territorial community and establish an industrial park there. And we, on our part, are ready to invest in basic infrastructure for the private investor to concentrate on production, because the private investor doesn't have to think about the infrastructure, such infrastructure as roads and other things. And we are ready to talk now to look where is the highest potential and where the best results can be yielded, to start financing industrial parks from the beginning of the next year. The other issue, it is not only the hard investment in infrastructure, but also establishing financial incentives for private investors. And with the support of the Parliament and the tax committee, economic committee of the Parliament, we registered two draft laws on amending the taxation code of Ukraine, establishing incentives for industrial parks. This includes exemption of the corporate income tax for 10 years. As for the income tax, we realize that very often companies hide their incomes to avoid taxation, and we hope that this that these incentives will stimulate the companies to show their incomes and to capitalize their companies. The other stimuli is the responsibility of local self-governments. This is allocation of land plots and exemption of the land tax and the local taxes. The territorial communities need to compete between themselves, because the higher is the competition, the better is the quality of services offered to the private investors. These are our priorities for 2022, including continuing the presidential program on big construction and building up industrial parks. And we hope that these two initiatives will help the regions to compete between themselves and to attract investments to their territories. Thank you, Ivan. And now let's move to the next part of our forum, the discussion part. And I kindly invite our speakers to take your seats at the round table. And while you are taking your seats, I would like to talk to our online audience and mention that Ukraine Invest developed a very powerful tool to inform investors about the production capacities and the investment opportunities in Ukraine. And this is all in the bot, in the collected in the Invest Guide. You see the QR code on the screen, which you can scan, and it will give you the link to the investment guide made in UA. And I am pleased to say that Ukraine has very many competitive advantages and continues to strengthen its investment potential. And I invite you to watch another video, Ukraine Fast Forward, and you will be surprised because it shows very many facets of Ukraine, and you will see how unique we are.
Друзі, ну
Friends, I'd also like to pay your attention, the attention of our listeners online and offline. You can ask questions to our speakers on our screen right now. You can see the QR code. You can scan it, and then you will have an opportunity to ask your questions. So please send your questions, and UkraineInvest team will work on these questions and will transfer them to me or to the other moderator so that we can address them to the relevant speaker. And I'd like to remind you that this forum is organized by the Government Office on Involvement the Investment and Ukraine Invest in cooperation with the USAID Competitive Economy in Ukraine, which is supported by the USAID. And the goal of the program is improving the competitiveness of Ukrainian startups, small and medium enterprises in Ukraine, and increasing the competitiveness of Ukrainian products and services in Ukrainian and international markets. And this goal is being reached by different approaches. First of all is development of the business environment in Ukraine in cooperation with the government, and support innovative industries, including startups, increasing domestic and foreign investments, and improving the access to finance, promoting the export of Ukrainian services, and developing the field of international trade, increasing the economic opportunities for women-led businesses, and of course increasing the transparency and accountability of Ukraine. And now let me also take my place at the round table. Today we saw the presentation on an attractive investment program make in Ukraine. We've heard about the investment potential of Ukraine, and right now we're moving on to the next important topic of our forum is the role of international financial organizations in supporting the investment programs, and this discussion will be in the English language.
our next discussion, the role of the international financial organizations in investment projects support. International financial organizations are long-term partners of Ukraine that provide financial and technical resources necessary for economic stabilization and reforms progress. Most of the funds are used to support state and local budgets, institutional and structural reforms, preparation and implementation of investment projects. The discussion panel will focus on analysis of experience and prospects for cooperation of private investors with international financial and donor organizations. So please welcome our respected speakers. Jason Pelmar, Regional Manager in Ukraine, Belarus and Moldova at the International Finance Corporation, IFC. Jean-Eric Dezagon, Head of Representation in Ukraine at the European Investment Bank, who is joining us online, and Irina Kravchenko, Deputy Head of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development in Ukraine. So this roundtable will be hosted by Daniel Bilak, Senior Counsel at Kinstellar. So please, Daniel, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and thank you once again, Serhiy, for inviting me. As you know, I'm a big fan of UkraineInvest, and I think this is very useful. I feel like the UN here. I got Jason sitting across the table. It's a good thing we're not negotiating arms control or something like that. Wait, where is Jean-Eric? Oh, we can't hear him. He's going to be like God coming from above. Actually, we don't have a lot of time. We've got 25 minutes, and I wanted to have a sort of very focused discussion around Make in Ukraine and manufacturing, and especially I think we need to call out the elephant in the room, and the fact that, you know, the job of UkraineInvest is especially difficult these days. First it was COVID, and now we have accelerated or escalated Russian aggression on our borders. Neither of which really contribute to a warm, fuzzy feeling in the minds of investors when they come to think of investing in Ukraine. And the role of IFIs has always been important. They've always been the leaders. They've always been the ones that send the signal. But now back in the private sector at my law firm, we always say, make sure that you go to the IFIs because they provide you with that level of comfort and security in investing in this environment if that's what you need. But now so more than ever. And so for today's discussion, I'd like our panelists to focus on what they see within the manufacturing sectors or the Make in Ukraine sector, if you like, that is the theme of today's discussion. But what is it that you see as not just the opportunity, but how are you dealing with the vulnerabilities and the turbulence of this market to reassure investors? And maybe, Irina, ladies first, we'll start with you. And EBRD has been probably in Ukraine the longest, if I'm not, well, if you count the IFC and World Bank, they're probably about the same time. And you've been focusing on many different areas. You've been most recently in the energy sector. You've been doing a lot. What do you see as the main make in Ukraine opportunities, and how are you dealing with the sense of uncertainty among investors? How do you reassure them?
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the floor, because actually, closer, is it okay? Okay, so thank you very much, and happy to contribute to this discussion, because discussions are important, not only speeches and statements about where we would like to be and where we are now. You kind of put us opposite each other, despite we're working quite closely, Jason, yeah, with IFC. And yeah, I prepared quite a lot of actually materials, but Daniel told me to be very short, so I will try to be short and specific. I'm very glad how you said that partners, indeed, international financial organizations, more than just investors, we are partners. And we've been partners with Ukraine for quite a long time. And indeed, our activities are quite wide, and we work closely with the government, with the state-owned enterprises, provide sovereign loans, but the focus of our activities always has been and is private sector. And obviously, sorry, if I just move away, and services and manufacturing and all sectors actually which were introduced by Sergei as a focus, they're on our list of priorities. So this is, we are closely aligned, and I think there will be good prospects for us next year, but I cannot avoid not to say a few figures, because sometimes figures are saying more than just words, because, you know, to confirm how reliable, committed partner we were over all these years. And despite what you said, COVID, all political tensions, this year we're expecting, we already contributed more than 700 million euros. It's almost, to be precise, 770 million. And one third of this investment went into manufacturing sectors. So as you can see there, despite all this turbulent time and all uncertainty, we still find good opportunities for investments. I can tell you that this year we're even targeting to achieve, if everything will go according to our plan, almost 1 billion euros. So I think this is a significant investment, and it will be already the third year in a row when we are contributing such substantial amounts to Ukraine development. What about if you come closer to our investments? We are not limited actually to any sectors in infrastructure, in industry, and all what mentioned, as I said, yes, it's on our roadmap for the next year. And this year, probably the biggest portion of investment went to agribusiness, which is one of the most advanced and fast-growing industries in Ukraine. In terms of risks and our approach, look, the first probably and the most important criteria is obviously integrity and transparency. We are happy to work with businesses who are open and can meet our criteria. You said we are a good partner. Yes, we are an encouraging partner, but we could be a difficult partner as well, because our request to the companies could be quite tough compared sometimes to local financial institutions and local banks. But we are here to help as well, because we help the companies to grow to a different level. And we are dealing not only with the large and having such landmark or projects like with Astarta, this Agrofusion, Nibolon, ArcelorMittal. We're also dealing and provide a lot of support, technical assistance, advice to small and medium-sized companies. And we have a quite wide range of instruments which we offer, and happy to work with different size of companies, sometimes directly, sometimes through the local banks, whenever we find a suitable instrument, depending on the financial viability of the company and the project.
So if I read between the lines a bit there, you're putting, you sort of feel that your accent on the agri sector for 2022 in terms of manufacturing. Serhiy in his presentation and they talked about the added value economy and technology that is the industry 4.0, if you like, approach to manufacturing. Is your bet going to be largely on the agro sector next year?
Not necessarily.
So I didn't read the lines properly. Okay.
No. It would happen. I'm just giving you the facts what happened for this year. But as I said, we invest this year in property and tourism, in manufacturing, in IT business, in whatever you can name. So it's all on our map for this. It was for this year and going forward.
Okay, that's great. We'll come back to this, and hopefully we'll have a chance to have a little bit of a conversation. Jean-Eric, are you there? Can you hear us? No, Jean-Eric. Okay, maybe we can, somebody can give me a signal that he's online and we'll come back to him. But live, we have Jason Pelmar from IFC. And Jason and I have been in London last week, Kiev this week, and I wonder what it'll be next week. You've done a lot. You made a big splash last year with financing a big concession project, the concession project in Kherson, which was a sort of a landmark deal in many respects. Where do you see the opportunities for IFC next year? Is this still going to be in the infrastructure space with the concession side, or do you see something else, given the complexities that we talked about, that David Arachamia mentioned earlier? And what is IFC's strategy for reassuring investors given the current uncertainties?
So thanks very much for the question, Dan. Thanks to Serhiy and the organizers of a good event. And maybe if we could start actually with London before we come back to Kiev, because I think the event in London was actually more reassuring than expected. The room was full. There was a lot of interest from investors in that room, both on the equity side and the debt capital markets, despite some of the headwinds that we've discussed in this room today. So I remain cautiously optimistic that if we structure projects correctly, and that is the role of UkraineInvest, but it's also the role of IFC. As stated, we are partners, and EBRD and IFC are working actively to create projects. I think we can't afford to be in a passive role. I think we need to be more active. This is not unique to Ukraine, but in emerging markets, there's a lot of liquidity out there. We have a lot of liquidity, I'm sure, in this room that's looking for a home, that's looking for solid projects. And I think we've also acknowledged in this room today that there are investment climate challenges. And so by creating projects, by creating a regulatory framework, by creating an institutional framework, we can mobilize more private sector investment into making whatever in Ukraine, be it agri-production, be it manufacturing for industrial production, be it nearshoring. And so this is, I mean, the short answer to your question, that is our focus. We talked about the macroeconomic situation in the economy. The macroeconomics are actually quite good. Foreign reserves are at 30 billion. The National Bank of Ukraine just recently raised its policy rate. But that's not enough to create the growth rates that we heard is requested by the leadership of the country. So where are we going to focus? We're going to focus on the institutional and the regulatory reform required. But also to have more manufacturing in Ukraine, you also need to create the infrastructure and logistics that make Ukraine an attractive manufacturing destination, to have stable and reliable and inexpensive electricity. So it's also about creating the enabling sectors that promote more manufacturing. It was good to hear talk from multiple speakers about industrial parks. I think industrial parks make a lot of sense. But I would add to that eco-industrial parks, because I think it's also about aligning with EU Green Deal. And I think that's another major factor that will play out in Ukraine, both on the positive and the negative side. Positive in that it's going to incentivize aligning production. Negative in the sense that Ukraine actually has to respond so as not to be left out of key export markets. Infrastructure, we have mobilized investment into the port sector, as you've mentioned. OVA was just transferred over to Q terminals 2 weeks ago. Kherson will shortly be turned over. Chornomorsk is next. And then we have projects in the energy sector. So the concession model, I think, is a great model that will promote more private sector investment into infrastructure. But then it's also using other tools that Irina mentioned, directly supporting local companies and international companies to produce more in Ukraine.
Thanks, Jason. I'm an investor online listening to this, and you mentioned institutional and regulatory reform. What still needs to be done? Aside from what still needs to be done, what is the key institutional regulatory reform that you would see on the agenda, you would recommend to the government to deal with for next year?
Well, very much on my mind. I mean, it depends on what sector we're talking about, right? So there's different institutional regulatory reforms depending on which sector you want to invest in. When I think of the infrastructure space, one key area, we've identified $2 billion worth of road projects that we will be working on together with EBRD. In order to attract the private sector to invest into road concessions, there needs to be long-term budgeting. So that's one. And so this is something that we're actively working on with MPs, with Ministry of Infrastructure, with our colleagues at NIC, UkraineInvest. Another would be irrigation. So we talked about the agri-sector. Irrigation, I think, is going to be the next big reform required after the land reform. So now small and medium-sized landowners can, after 2 decades, buy and sell land, which is fantastic. But this is an early stage of the reform. Phase 2 is going to hopefully lead to more economic impact. But now, because of this reform, we think that irrigation is now viable. For irrigation, for agri-holdings to invest in irrigation, however, and to promote more private sector investment, you need water user organizations. And this is also legislation that we're working on together with MPs, Ministry of Infrastructure, and Ministry of Economy.
Excellent. You raised another points that I'd like to come back to in a few minutes, but we'll go back, and he's not on.
Unfortunately.
We've lost Jean-Éric in cyberspace. Okay, well then we'll pick up some of these points. Climate change, big issue, affects all industries and sectors across the board. And of course, banks have, including yours, have now got considerable ESG requirements and environmental, social, and governance requirements as part of their financing packages. This has been particularly challenging for Ukrainian companies, big Ukrainian corporates that never thought about this. It also may affect the kinds of projects that you do. You may not be doing coal projects, or you may not be doing coal projects the way you used to do coal, or they were done, rather, the way they were done before. Irina, what is the impact of the trend in corporate social responsibility, ESG, financing, lending? How do you see that impacting the market and the potential for investors to enter the Ukrainian market?
Actually, you're right that green transition is one of our key priority and key focus. It's going to be for the next year. And officially, we already stated during the last year annual meeting that our target to achieve not less than 50% of all our investment to be green financing. And in Ukraine, I can tell you we're already very close to this figure. We're already 50% actually supported, 50% of all our investments supported green financing. So we are not so far away from our target and what exactly we are planning to do it. And there is again a number of instruments, a number of tools what we have available and developing further. First of all, we will be supporting and we will try to identify to our potential clients these green components. For that, we will have allocated specific technical assistance, which will help them to structure accordingly to projects according to achieving these goals. In addition, we will have all sorts of incentive for instance, smaller sized companies when we will use different guarantee instruments. We will use certain supporting and stimulus to to help them to move in this direction. Because first of all, these benefits not always obvious and not so easy to figure out for some of the companies. As you said, some of the industries will become untouchable for us. It's all related to coal. But there is a special program which will be also involved in just transition, helping closing of coal mines and to ensure that there is also connected social programs. And in addition, we have already under implementation now a number of programs which supporting innovations like FinTech. It's a big regional project supporting climate innovative project. We have high impact program, which just recently starting for a number of industry, which include construction, cement, fertilizer, chemicals, where we will be a combination of technical assistance and certain concessional financing. So definitely renewable energy, which is a big sector in which we're involved. We're one of the major investors and we will continue supporting that. Decarbonization is a big program also on the map of Ukraine, and you know that the EBRD was actively involved in developing this NDC. And we will continue with this implementation and providing necessary assistance to incorporate or introduce regulation which will help to boost and to implement these measures. Did I answer your question or is it general?
Brilliantly, brilliantly, except
yeah.
When I was in London and had meetings with the EBRD, I'm doing a potential major highway project in Ukraine, 262 kilometers of concession highway. And I was told by one of OGC, Office of General Counsel, that, well, we have to look at roads because they're dirty and we may not be able to finance them. And I said, well, how are you going to get your electric cars from one place to another if you don't have roads to do it? So there are going to have to be nuances, I think, in trade-offs in how you do these things. But I guess, Jason, it comes back to when you were talking about irrigation, really, we're talking about sustainability, I guess, at the end of the day, of which ESG and the greening of the economy is all part of. So if I'm an investor on stream listening to this conversation, and I'm building small mobile nuclear reactors. Is this something that I can come to knowing that it's probably the only way Ukraine is going to meet its COP26 target promises? Is this something I come to the IFC with a proposal?
So I'd be happy to discuss with said company. However, as a matter of policy, the World Bank Group does not finance nuclear energy. So, but that being said, stepping back, I think it's wrong to think of shifting to a green economy as a burden or as something negative, and because it is CapEx intensive. But to me, it actually prevents investment opportunity, and not only from the lending side but the equity side. And so this is where IFC is focusing its attention, and irrigation is just one example of climate-smart agriculture. And then again, bring back the theme of manufacturing. If we get irrigation right, then we want irrigation equipment to be produced in Ukraine once the market is created. And already we've seen the Minister of Agrarian Policy actively signing MOUs, drumming up interest in the manufacturing of irrigation equipment. So I see a lot of investment potential, not only in renewable energy in terms of generation, there's a need for battery storage. So all of this presents opportunities for more FDI into areas of the economy that otherwise haven't been exposed to foreign investment.
Once again, some interesting issues raised. When I was deputy chairman of Ukrzaliznytsia, we used to have battles with GE and initial discussions with Alstom about localization, because obviously you need all sorts of new kit when you're restructuring your heavy industry, but you want it manufactured here. Does this mean that, based on your last comment, that you would be supporting the government in its push for greater localization when it comes to financing some of these major acquisitions, heavy industry acquisitions?
So it depends on how you define localization, and you're a lawyer, so you're aware of how important it is to define your terms. The localization in the sense that we want production done domestically, but it should make commercial sense. We're not recommending trade barriers. We're recommending that we create a market such that foreign firms, domestic firms are incentivized to produce locally.
Okay, we have about 4 minutes left. I promised Serhiy that we would be right on time. Both of you raised the issue a number of times of working together, and you also raised, I think we raised an issue of how you work with governments. What are each of your organizations doing in terms of your government cooperation here in Ukraine to further the objectives that we've talked about, both in terms of bringing in investors on the Make in Ukraine program, as well as the greening of the Ukrainian economy? Maybe Irina, you can start.
I can start. What we don't do, what was mentioned before, that we do not provide, EBRD never provide budget support. But otherwise, yes, we do finance provide sovereign financing for a number of projects, especially in municipal infrastructure sectors. We do have a specific policy initiative, as we call them, and it's not only this famous URA program when we have our reform support team in main ministries, and we have a reform delivery office in our reporting to the Prime Minister office. So there is a number of reforms initiative going there. And for green economy, as I said, there is so many initiatives. We are trying actually together with other participants and development partners actually to create the big pool and put it all together where we can help both to the private sector, to the reforms, to regulation, and we focus also on making sure that we create good potential, good opportunities through all these necessary incentive and policy initiatives.
Super. Jason, last word.
Yeah, so I think by definition, our institutions bridge the gap between government and private sector. So much of what we do is in direct collaboration. So be it Ministry of creating a dairy market together with Ministry of Agrarian Policy. So I come back to the point that we're very much aligned with the spirit of this forum. It's how do we create projects, frameworks, such that we can overcome some of the headwinds to bring in more FDI and domestic investment.
Thanks very much. Just, I guess, to sum up, in a very, very general sense, I liked what our panelists referred to, I guess, as lots of money sloshing around the world looking for yield. And the yield is very hard to come by in many markets. And it really seems that, especially that came through the presentation, the excellent presentation that Serhiy made, which is Ukraine is unique in the fact that it has scale. You cannot find another market in Europe, certainly, very few markets in the world that have the kind of scale and the opportunities that Ukraine does. And the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, in a very real sense, has sort of become the constitution of the Ukrainian economy, that we've seen massive regulatory convergence and regulatory compliance across the board. And I think that makes it a very opportune time for a Make in Ukraine initiative, because when investors come in, they don't want to think that they're in some third world country or some unknown territory. They want to feel like they're in Europe like any other European country. And all those boring thousands of pages of documents that we lawyers just love to read and advise clients on are exactly what clients want to know, that they can tell their lawyers, take a look at this, and they say, yeah, this is what the rules are in the EU. And so, David Arachamia criticized lawyers as giving clients bad advice and then they leave Ukraine. When clients come to me, I tell them, go to UkraineInvest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bilek.
Thank you. Щиро вам дякую за увагу.
Well, thank you very much for hosting the panel, and thank you also, Ms. Kravchenko. Thank you, Mr. Pelmer, for your valuable comments. And now we move on. Let me switch back into Ukrainian. Друзі, ми рухаємося далі, і я хочу вам нагадати про можливість задавати питання нашим спікерам.
Dear friends, you can now ask questions to our speakers. You see the QR code that you can scan to get a link to the Telegram bot and ask your questions. The Ukraine Invest team will process all the questions and give it to the moderators to address to the relevant speaker. And the next question will be the dialogue with the investors, from idea to the results. The work with central and local governments in terms of attracting investment can be evaluated by the criteria of the number of companies who already work in the region and are able to assess the work of the investment climate in Ukraine. And our speakers are Halina Yanchenko, the Member of Parliament of Ukraine, Head of Temporary Special Commission of Verkhovna Rada on Protection on Investor Rights, Igor Marchuk, the Member of Parliament of Ukraine, Chairperson of Subcommittee of State Business Interaction and Investment of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine Committee of Economic Development, Olga Magaletska, Head of the Office on National Investment Council, Andriy Zdesenko, owner and president of Biosphere Corporation, Roman Volkov, the co-owner and the general manager of Euroboot Companies, Yevhen Sadovy, CEO of Free Soils SA, Ivan Sakal, financial director of Inagro, and Roman Grigorishin, director of Department of Investment and Foreign Economic Activity, International Cooperation and Tourism of Odessa Oblast State Administration. And I give the floor to Sergei Tsivkach, the executive director of Ukraine Invest. Thank you. For me, it is a very important session because it is about promoting Ukraine in terms of investment. We will talk about the projects that started in 2021, the projects that were commissioned in 2021, and the projects that were planned in 2021 for implementation in the upcoming years. The session has a very symbolic title, From Idea to Implementation. And you need to understand that the role of the Parliament in implementation of ideas is very important, and it is very important that the ideas meet the opportunities for the practical realization. And let's first start with the presentations of members of parliament and then to the representatives of business, because you can talk for a long time, you can make long speeches, but important thing is showing specific results based on the real stories, and that's the best promotional campaign. And I would like to give the floor to Halina Yanchenko, the Member of Parliament of Ukraine, Head of Temporary Special Commission of the Parliament on Protecting the Investors' Rights. Please speak briefly about the results of your activity I have already mentioned during my welcoming speech that in the Parliament I represent the Parliament's Commission on protecting the investors' rights, and I'm very pleased that it is really a symbol that the words of President Zelensky are carried on by all the branches of power, and further on initiatives are generated. And in the Parliament, we also gave this. We also heard this message. We took this path, and we are now thinking how the Parliament can help in promoting and protecting the rights of investors and in attracting investment overall. And we established a special commission for that. We saw that actually, while in our team we are elaborating the reform ideas and working on the issues of the judicial reform, on the land reform, the reform of the law enforcement authorities, and other reforms that have been adopted by the Parliament and are being adopted, the investors, unfortunately, face many challenges in Ukraine. And in order not to miss is reviewing large cases and complaints, claims of business, we try to resolve these cases, and during a year and a half of our operation we managed to resolve 9 cases of that and return to Ukraine 9 investment projects amounting to 12.5 billion hryvnia. But resolving these big cases are not the ultimate goal of operation of the Parliamentary Special Commission. This is these are cases that we use to learn which challenges businesses face and investment projects face, and what needs to be changed in the legislative framework to close the gaps, the legal gaps. And here we also have positive changes, because the Parliamentary Commission has already initiated several draft laws, both in stimulating production, for example, electric vehicles production in Ukraine, and in the issues of intellectual property, of private property protection. And here our initiatives are very well received and perceived and supported by the Parliament.
And today in the morning, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopted the draft law of the Special Commission. 317 members of parliament voted for the law that will change the system of working with frozen actives of various institutions that faced several problems in the past. And what I want to mention right now, that in fact all these stories for us, we learned based on these stories during this year and a half, and now we understand and see how we can transfer to a more intense part of our work. And for the next year in the parliament we have a goal of creating not only closing some legislative gaps or removing the problems faced by investors, but we want to provide more senses into the investment instruments that the parliament adopted this year. We supported various programs supported by the president, such as investment nannies, and UkraineInvest is the secretary of this program, industrial banks. And now we need to take these problems and fill them with some sense and specific investment projects, and understand how we as a parliament and other government bodies, how can we boost the further development of the economy, manufacturing of products with added value. So next year we are planning to look on how to boost the work with raw materials, applying both instruments. Of course, there are several restrictive measures, and there are significant the positive advancement project. So at this event, I will be happy to communicate with all the representatives, including those who work in agriculture, and because we will have a lot of topics to discuss, and I hope that we will cooperate in the next year, focusing on uh, uh, on these facts. And now I want to give the floor to Ihor Marchuk, who has a special day today because he is a member of Parliament of Ukraine, and he was part of the presidential initiatives that was put through the parliament. The initiative is called Investment Nannies. And Ihor, please, the floor is yours. Good evening, everyone, and thank you. You know, I want to tell you that today I have a very symbolic event which is connected to the work of on the law on state support of investment projects, and this is the date when the government of Ukraine and Ukraine Invest by the government of Ukraine, Ukraine Invest was appointed as an institution who can support the investors with large investments, and it happened on my birthday, so that is a representative event too. So based on the plan of my speech, I had to start with a presentation of background and the process of creation of the law on the state support of investment projects. But since even Mr. Prime Minister and my colleagues Galina Yanchenko have already talked about this topic, I will focus only on the key aspects. So in 2020 in Davos, the president, for the first time in his speech, used the phrase investment nanny. And this phrase is a very succinct way and a very in-depth way to characterize the new approach of our state in relationships with our future investors. Next comes the work of the Verkhovna Rada in December in 2020. We adopted we adopted the law, and in February the president signed this law. Based on this, I would like to mark the rapid and effective cooperation between the President's office and the Committee on Economy, the Ministry on Economic Development, the Office on National Investment Council, and as a result of this rapid and effective cooperation, right now we have an effective law, and we have the first request for investments amounting in 100 millions, and I think it's a very good result, both the work and the terms. And also, very briefly, since I am a proponent of the law, I will focus on the key facts. The minimal size of the investment is 20 million. Then tax and customs benefits, fields of economic activities that are defined is both in research and scientific work and culture and other fields. When it comes to investors and the state, the cabinet of ministers of Ukraine is signing a special investment agreement for the next 15 years, and there is support that is going to be provided when it comes to joining the relevant networks. And David Arhamio has already mentioned this is a very considerable obstacle right now. And of course, paying the damages to the investors in case their rights are being broken. And for our country right now, there is an opportunity to receive the best while implementing the president's idea for investment nannies. This is happening because right now we live in a very changing and turbulent world, because there is a COVID-19 pandemic. International chains of cooperation and supply are very unstable right now. There is a geopolitical crisis and the change of the basic economic the change of the main economic paradigms. And all of these, on the one hand, is creating significant problems. On the other hand, it's creating large opportunities. Secondly, today, producing in Asia and in China is not as safe and as relevant as it was recently, because global producers are diversifying their risks and are transferring their production to different countries, including Vietnam, India, and the countries of Eastern Europe. And thirdly, the real scale of world investment chains is impressive. When we talk about global markets, the capital there involves 20 trillion US dollars annual amount of funds, includes 15 trillion US dollars, and direct foreign investments involve 500 billion US dollars. And speaking about this large investment part, Ukraine is obliged to join this process. Also, there is a competition between countries for these resources, and the competition is being intensified. For example, large plants are built in Bulgaria that are focusing on reused materials, and these plants could be built in Ukraine. When we talk about Poland, Czech Republic, and Hungary, since 2017 to 2020, they involved for over 40 billion US dollars in the economy of their countries, and for that period we involved only around 10 billion of direct foreign investment. So right now we have to focus on creating the best conditions for involving and retaining, and it's very important to mention that not only involving but retaining our current investors in order to use our natural and geographic and human and technological potential. For that purpose, we in the parliament, we have basically all the legislative framework, investment nannies that have been mentioned before. On the agenda of the Verkhovna Rada, we have a draft law on localization, and my colleague Dmitro will talk more about it. In industrial parks, all of these compile a large system that has to work to develop our economy and to make it more attractive for direct domestic and foreign investment, because nobody will take care about our economic growth better than us. So we should be the ones to take care of it. And to finalize, I want to take in this opportunity, I want to invite Ukrainian and foreign investors to invest their funds in the economy of our country, and invest nannies from UkraineInvest. I wish to inspire and support the investors to implement their investment projects, because I want to rephrase a famous phrase of Konstantin Sergeyevich Stanislavski when he talked about theater that starts with a wreck. I want to say that investment climate of Ukraine starts with the quality and devotion of UkraineInvest team. So I wish success to all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Dmytro Kiselevsky, Member of Parliament of Ukraine, who is actively involved in the field of the legislative framework and legislative changes, including industrial parks and localizations and other initiatives that are aimed at developing manufacturing. Dmytro, the floor is yours. Up to 5 minutes, please. I will try to squeeze it into 5 minutes. I am Dmytro Kiselevsky. I am a deputy head of the Economic Development Committee of the Parliament. In the parliament, we're trying not to only listen to the advice of our international partners, but we are studying their international experience and trying to use it. First of all, this is the experience of the EU and of the US. We realize that an integral part of this way is stimulating the economy, stimulating the experts, stimulating research and science, and not only fighting and combating the corruption. Our initiatives are aimed to facilitate the work of those who are investing in sectors, creating new workplaces, and involving the Ukrainian manufacturers in their supply chains. I will focus on 3 initiatives that I work on: localizations, industrial park, and the export. The first one is about the local part. Ukraine is spending 600 billion hryvnias on buying products, and a large share of it is import. Of course, we understand that it is not satisfactory for the government that want to support the work of their citizens. To compare with the EU, in this field, their share is 8%. So now we're trying to introduce the approach, helping the investors who introduce their enterprises in Ukraine. And these investors will receive a bonus from the Ukrainian states. And it's not promises, it's access to the supply, and it includes the engineering and other fields, and we will restrict the access of import goods such as Turkey and other countries, and the ones who are not the signatories of GPA agreement. And this is the compromise that we had to agree to, because our international partners have been very devoted to this initiative. And we will move forward in this respect. So, speaking about manufacturing in Ukraine, this is an open access to developing Ukrainian economy, and we are happy to help those who are creating workplaces and developing the Ukrainian economy. Our plan will intensify in 2020 and will develop further. So, speaking about industrial parks, right now they have been mentioned today, and we are introducing financial incentives for industrial parks and for those companies who are creating their manufacturing in Ukraine. There is a law that envisages state compensation that involves helping to develop industrial parks, including road building and electricity support and other things. In the budget for the next year, we have 44 million for the state incentives. Of course, it's 5 times smaller than we expected, because we expected to have 4 billion hryvnias, but it's better than nothing, and we're hoping to improve this further. Other draft laws are underway, and they will be approved by the parliament. This includes exempt from the VAT for certain projects, and such bonus as the opportunity of not paying the tax for the number of for 10 upcoming years. So we are helping Ukrainian communities, and we're giving them real instruments to develop. And as it has been said already today, we expect the competition of Ukrainian communities in terms of involving investment. And I believe in Ukrainian communities, and I believe that they will be effective in this competition. And I hope that these draft laws will be adopted by the parliament, and other incentives will work further. So after these draft laws are adopted, Ukraine will open other benefits for investors, such as land plot for investments. They will compensate the fee for their connection to electricity. They will have some other tax incentives, and I believe that for the beginning this is a very good offer for investors. Of course, we realize that this is less than other countries offering, so we will develop these benefits. And speaking about the financing of exports, this year Ukraine launched Export Credit Agency, and there's nothing to be proud of, because other countries have created such agencies probably 10 years before, but still we launched it. We have the resources, and we have the legislative framework, so that is a good step. It should have started in 2016. However, the previous government was not active in this respect, so we're now working on improving the legislation, and we are creating better conditions for the banks in these fields. We are working on making it happen as soon as possible. There are also a number of regional initiatives, and these initiatives will focus on working on a wood industry, because this is one of the important industry, raising and also the metal industry, which is also an important question. There are also some incentives for electric transport and its production, and of course the space program that is underway. At the end of my speech, I would like to mention the following thing. Year by year, initiatives on helping the manufacturing in Ukraine is improving and is getting better and better. And Ukraine will turn into a more interesting market as the years go on. And Ukraine is very close to the association agreement with the EU, and Ukraine has certain benefits when it comes to opening enterprises on Ukraine's territory, especially in comparison with Asian markets. And of course, Ukraine is negotiating some other deals with the European Union, and I hope that this will result in great success that will help Ukraine. And it's very important to invest in the production and manufacturing in Ukraine. Dmytro, thank you for your work. And now I would like to give the floor to Olga Mogalevska, who also has a special day-to-day connected to the Invest Nanny projects, and she is the head of the National Investment Council in Ukraine, a person who put a lot of efforts into writing, lobbying this draft law and later law, and to support this initiative. So, Olga, the floor is yours. Up to 5 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, and I'm pleased to welcome all the forum participants, and I thank you for inviting me. I would like to also welcome our members of parliament and greet them with the adoption of the law on investment nannies in the second reading, and I thank you very much for that because the process doesn't stop, and we continue not only with the investment nannies but also with other bylaws. And attracting investment to Ukraine is based on the three pillars. It is the favorable legislative framework and the strategy of attracting investment and the rule of law. And I would like to share with you the situation in the Ukrainian business and the latest investment-oriented legal initiatives. Last year, we saw a successful case of signing DP role of Olvia in Kherson, and the German company started building its plant in Kyiv Oblast. ArcelorMittal also started to build its plant in Ukraine, and this year was also successful. Even in the context of pandemics, Ukraine already has the successful cases of investment. For example, a plant in Kyiv, in Lviv Oblast. Also, South Korean company Karis is planning to build a plant in Ukraine on manufacturing environmentally safe bumpers. Ukrainian company had started construction plant on to produce skiing equipment in Vinnytsia, and the UMG Investments started to build a terminal in Pivdeny port. Also, $410 million is planned to be invested. And to attract more investment, together with the USAID and the Ukraine Competitive Economy of Ukraine Program and Ernst & Young company, we presented the strategy of attracting direct foreign investment to Ukraine. And this strategy involves covers such infrastructure as such sectors as agriculture, infrastructure, IT, and it contains specific recommendations how to make the country more attractive to foreign investors. And this also it will give a good start to investment activity in Ukraine. The full version of the strategy is posted on our website and on the website of UkraineInvest. As for the investment climate of Ukraine, implementation of any strategy is threatened, and I would like to congratulate you with the first requests for substantial investment projects, and very soon we can start the working on amending the taxation code in terms of supporting the industrial parks. And I wish you fruitful work today. And thank you for keeping with the time. And now I would like to switch to business presentations. We want to hear where you are, where you work, how you respond to the changes in the regulatory policy offered by the government, and what are your comments. I would like to invite to give the floor to Mr. Mai Van Mien, the CEO of Mareven Food Europe. It is Petra, Big Bone, the main products of the company, and the company operates in Ukraine since 2007, and it has been invested to the economy of Ukraine more than $62 million.
Maybe can I speak in Russian language or not?
You can speak any language. Okay. If Russian is preferable for you, it's not a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Уважаемые дамы и господа, наша компания Mareven Foods, мы уже 10 лет инвестировали в Украину. На данный момент мы инвестировали более 60 миллионов США в город Березяков, Киевский область. И на данный момент наша продукция представляет фактически не только в рынок Украины, но более 20 стран мира. Рынок у нас очень перспективный. Это рынок Польши, рынок Германии и рынок Англии. Самый большой перспективный будем продолжаем инвестировать в рынок Ближний Восток и Северная Африка. Это рынок Мена. И мы считаем, что эта Украина является одной из точки, которые мы можем больше инвестировать и продолжаем инвестировать в Украину, чтобы здесь построить самый большой завод, холдинг для обеспечить европейский рынок и рынок сбыта, который мы имеем. Планируем первый этап, мы хотим инвестировать более 50 миллионов долларов США. Если первый этап успешный, мы можем увеличивать это еще на 50 миллионов долларов США. Комплектно в ближайшие 5 лет возможно достигать более 100 миллионов долларов США. И мы в данный момент уже плотно обсуждаем инвестиционный проект с UkraineInvest. Также обсуждается это нюансы, юридический момент с миссис Онга. И в данный момент товары из Украины есть некоторые трудности, когда это продать за рубежом. Вы знаете, европейский это вопрос очень трудный по качеству и ценообразованию. Для этого работа товара и личностного товара сделана из Украины. Made in Ukraine. Любой компании нужно инвестировать очень много в инфраструктуру, в базу сырьевой материал. И надеемся, чтобы это на сегодня, это форум, мы очень хотим, чтобы это на уровне государственный ускорить процесс по привлекательной инвестиционной программе, чтобы помочь нашей компании и другим компаниям ускорить процесс инвестиций в рынок. И мы надеемся, чтобы это не только наша компания, и много компаний хотят сюда инвестировать, и правильно Украина будем назем и будет Украина стать одной из самых развитой экономик Восточной Европы. И товары здесь есть шанс покрывать все рынок Европы и рынок смены Африка и другой рынок. Спасибо большое и надеемся, что он
Спасибо
Супер.
большое за вашу
Хорошо.
работу в Украине. Спасибо за ваши следующие планы. Будем предоставлять всю поддержку и по механизму господдержки, по инвестиционным няням, и любые другие возможные пути вашої поддержки будуть обезпечені для вас. Зараз я хочу перейти до наступного спікера. Це пан Роман Волков. Тільки нещодавно ми відкривали нове підприємство сім'ї Волкових. Це сім'я, яка займається підприємництвом і в Західній Україні, і в Центральній Україні. Саме це підприємство було відкрито в Кропивницькому. Було дуже приємно бачити такий, знаєте, потужний середній український бізнес, який знає, як добиватись результату, який вміє, і який це показує на практиці. Пане Романе, дуже приємно вас бачити саме на вашому виробництві. І, будь ласка, до 5 хвилин розкажіть, які у вас плани, що ви зараз робите, які є ще, може, ініціативи, які треба започаткувати.
Алло, пропав зв'язок, трошки не чую вас.
Ви чуєте? Чуєте зараз? Говоріть.
Добрий вечір.
О.
Дозвольте представитись. Волков Роман, співвласник, керівник компанії «Тут». З 2005 року в місті Калуш Івано-Франківської області ми виробляємо сучасний, екологічно чистий, енергозберігаючий термоізоляційний матеріал пінопласт або пінополістирол. Потужність виробництва 300 тисяч метрів квадратних полістиролу в місяць. З даного заводу ми доставляємо продукцію на всю територію Західної України. Оскільки товар є недорогий і доставка займає велику вартість собівартості, ми вирішили збудувати нове виробництво в місті Кропивницький. У 2021 році ми завершили будівництво та запустили.
In 2001, we established a production plant in Kropivnitsky. We established the latest generation plant, and this will increase our production capacities twofold. And I'm very grateful to the government for starting the program on energy efficiency and energy saving, because this will make our air cleaner, because we will burn less fuel and emit less pollution in the air. And I'm sure that we will use the best European experience and implement it in Ukraine. For example, today, the energy efficiency of buildings in Europe is 50% higher than in Ukraine. And I think we need to comply with the existing standards and make our buildings warmer. And I would like to thank for the support of Ukrainian and foreign investors, and it's very nice that the government is ready to support Ukrainian businesses and develop our economy. Thank you very much, and if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them. Thank you, Roman, and this is a very good example of Ukrainian products produced for Ukrainian programs, and these materials will be used for warming our buildings and saving our energy and the money of our consumers. Thank you very much and have a nice day. I would like to give the floor now to Yevhen Sadovy. Rizoil, well, if you look at it from the first sight, it is not a production company. It is not a manufacturing company. It's a logistics company. But logistics is the component without which any production company can exist, and any supply chain is possible. I will ask my colleagues to show the video of the company, and then I will ask you to make a speech.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Dear colleagues, thank you for presenting me. I will speak on behalf of the Swiss company who's been investing for 20 years in the development of infrastructure in this country. And I will focus today on the project of constructing a piers in amounting to 20 million hryvnia. It happened that then the project was very highly appreciated by colleagues, because this is an opportunity for placing Ukrainian products in international markets, and the development of shore fleet. And we were seeing the potential of this project then. But my colleagues who didn't hurry with their investment, they were right, and it took about 10 years to receive all the approvals. This is quite an ambitious project. I think our team will be able to complete it in 10 years. But it took, I repeat, it took about 10 years for all the approvals. And when all the approvals were granted, we negotiated with the Seaport Administration of Ukraine. And we reached an agreement that due to the increase of the cargo flow, the return on investment will take up to 5 years for the companies, and we committed ourselves to compensate it with cash if the return on investment will not be reached. And this project will allow to create new jobs and place the products, Ukrainian products, in the foreign markets. But however, we faced a number of challenges. But I would like to thank the Swiss Embassy for active support of our project, and to the Seaport Administration of Ukraine. And I applaud to the management of the Liso company, who were confident enough to implement this project, which they thought of 10 years ago. Thank you very much for what you are doing, and for the readiness to continue supporting this project. I would like to give the floor now to Ivan Sakal, the Financial Director of Inagro, or Inagro Fusion. This is a very well-known company in the world, one of the global most important producers of tomato paste. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I understand that the participants must be tired by this time, but I would like to give you some southern optimism. I represent the AgroFusion company. This is a purely Ukrainian company. We grow tomatoes and make tomato paste, and we are the only company in Ukraine growing tomatoes in the Ukrainian soils, and everybody knows that Ukrainian soils are the example of fertility in the Paris measuring chamber. And imagine 15 years ago, we established a small farm for 18 hectares. For 80 hectares, we had only one tractor and 10 staff, 10 employees. And they had an ambitious goal to renew tomato industry in Ukraine. Today, our company is one of the top 5 European and top 10 world's tomato processing companies. And I think only because our tomatoes don't have a hryvnia invested in bribes to public officials. We don't have a hryvnia of avoiding taxation, and avoiding continuous improvement of our quality. Now we have 2,600 employees, and we have built 4 contemporary European plants. We started from scratch, and we haven't privatized anything from any public property, and we didn't buy anything from the government. We're very happy that the EBRD and the International Finance Corporation and the European Investment Bank were our partners. That's the simple formula of success for our company. I could end my speech here, but I understand that all our participants, especially the foreign investors, are interested in one question. Does it make sense to invest in the Ukrainian economy through the perspective of a Ukrainian investor? And my answer is yes. Yes, there is a sense. Remember the
So remember the expression that ships are always safe at sea, but ships are not safe when they are not at sea, but this is not why they were built. And currently Ukraine is becoming very attractive for investments, and that's why in the last couple of years we were able to fight the chronic problems that have been persisting for a number of years, and they have been discouraging the investors from Ukraine. 3 problems: the VAT issue, because you know that according to various estimations, the corruption part of this tax was about 35 billion hryvnias annually. And architecture approvals, construction approvals, it was impossible to even build a toilet on the street without paying a bribe. And of course, it was a mess of local administration and other institutions. And these problems have been coped with thanks to our international community, thanks to our powerful associations such as European Business Associations, such as the Office of such as American Chamber of Commerce and other institutions. And now to receive approvals for construction, it is possible through a DIA portal. And we have already taken this opportunity, and we are confident that this is a huge breakthrough in this direction. When it comes to the mess among fiscal organs in the legislative framework, there is much more order in this direction, and we hope that the tax agency will be service oriented, and the powerful office of business ombudsman was very timely and relevant, and we thank European Bank for Reconstruction and Development for this initiative. And today, this office is protecting the business community from from the officials that are not transparent and honest. Please imagine any kind of an investor who in Ukrainian environment of constant, who works and operates in the Ukrainian environment of constant changes and reforms. They don't know what to start from and how to receive all these approvals. Of course, the business nanny's office has become a professional provider for our investors. I would like to focus on two problems. There are a number of them, but I am very happy that David Arahamia in his speech focused on one of the problems. And I hope that today in Ukraine it is very important and it is necessary to solve the problem of joining the objects to the networks, to the electricity networks. Still some still the conditions are not understandable and are discriminatory for businesses. I think that we need to expedite the launch of the Bureau of Economic Security, especially when it comes to fight illegal businesses, because honest and transparent businesses are suffering from such non-transparent businesses and they cannot compete with such businesses. So I am sure, though, that great projects are not possible without great challenges, and I am sure that we will come back and overcome all the challenges. And I want to remind all the participants that there are a lot of successful companies in Ukraine, and as we know, success is constant readiness to use and to take the opportunity. Right now in Ukraine, we have these opportunities. Thank you, Ivan Ivanovich. And 2 more minutes. That's why right now we are trying to implement the project in Chaplinka. This is a border with occupied territory in Crimea, and we're starting to build the most modern plant in Europe, jointly with investment nannies, and we are hoping that we will be able to accomplish this project successfully. And I would like to say that until the investors have 1% of hope in Ukraine, there will always be 99% of chances. Thank you. Thank you, and I hope that Ukraine has undergone the period of large-scale challenges, and right now we have a period of pure achievements, and we need to move forward and to start forgetting about the existing problems. And however, there are still challenges that we need to tackle. Thank you for your work, and thank you for developing the image of Ukraine, because UkraineInvest and UkraineInvest, our goal is attracting direct foreign investment, but we are looking at it differently, because how can we attract direct foreign investment without strong local businesses? There is no way to do it, and that's why you are the ones we are working for, first of all, and your example is helping us to attract foreign investors. And right now, I would like to move on to a short speech, and I can tell you specifically how much it will last, because this is a recording. This is a company. This is from a company, Biosphere. They have a meeting right now. That's why they sent a short recording, and we'd like to listen to it now. Please, let's focus on the recording. Good evening, Serhiy Tsirkach, dear colleagues, dear partners. I am happy to introduce you. I'm happy to welcome you from Dnipro, and here we are preparing to launch the first enterprise for wet napkins, wet wipes in Ukraine. It's the first one in Ukraine, and it involves over 25 billion euros. We have top European and European level equipment. We've been preparing for 3 years for this launch. Now we have an understanding that it is what is necessary to do in order to launch similar enterprises in Ukraine. First of all, of course, it is necessary to have tax benefits And I think that the experience of Estonia is very representative here because they help to invest in the development of businesses, exemption from the VAT for modern enterprises and businesses. Also, it is necessary to connect to provide various other tax benefits that are necessary for investors to launch their enterprises in Ukraine. So we need competitive conditions such as in Poland, in Estonia, in Lithuania, and most importantly, of course, we need a complete absence of never-ending approval checkups from various institutions, and we need to provide some punishment for never-ending checkups and inventories because they prevent the enterprises from working. There are a lot of aspects that are worth mentioning right now. For example, we have committee involving the owners of the top enterprises, and we are ready to organize a roundtable with these members to share our experience and our ideas. Thank you. I will inform. And now, right now, we have the last speech within this panel before the coffee break. And we can say why in this panel, what is the connection with the manufacturing? But I want to represent Roman Hraneshin, Director of the Department of Investment and Foreign Economic Activity, International Cooperation and Tourism of Odessa Oblast State Administration. Why have we invited Mr. Roman? We are always happy to see him, but why today? Because Ukraine, on the initiative of Mr. Roman and his team and the team of Odessa State Administration, applied to have Expo 2030 in Odessa. If Ukraine wins this, I am sure that a lot of manufacturers in Ukraine will receive the demand for building this object. Mr. Roman, the floor is yours. Thank you, dear friends. Very often we talk about investment, but we're not mentioning the global markers that would stimulate the real capital in our economy. I came from Odessa, and Odessa is quite an interesting city that has a rich history, and it is a very ambitious city, and it used to be one of the World Trade Centers, and we all remember from the history, we remember Porto Franco, we remember the multinationality that is still preserved in the city. However, when the new team entered the Odessa region, we thought about what marker can we provide to the city so that it help Odessa reach the new level, and what is the ambitious goal of this region. And I think that our team has coped with this task under leadership of Serhiy Hranovetsky. And thanks to the governmental support, thanks to the support of the Prime Minister, Ukraine on 15 October really applied, sent an application to France to participate in a competition to select a country who will hold the World Expo 2030 exhibition. Of course, it was Odessa city who applied, and there are 4 countries, our competitors, South Korea, Saudi Arabia and other countries. And very often when I start talking about this idea, very often I am faced with skepticism, especially from those people who were in Dubai, for example. What exhibition in Odessa? Are you serious? But the nuances are always in detail, and when we look at the location that we chose, it has a lot of similarities with the Olympic principles because it is very hard to hold such events 2 times in a row in the same regions. And let's look at our competitors. Japan has already had this chance. In 2020, this event is already happening in Dubai. And if they give this chance to Asia again, it will be 10 years in a row. So based on this principle, there are 2 candidates. If there are 2 candidates that are not a part of the Asian countries. So since we do have a chance and we received the information that we do have a chance and we need to fight for this chance, our task, the task of our state, is to prepare a high quality application. The task for Odessa government is to prepare to have a high quality preparation when it comes to land plots, when it comes to forming the business plan of this expo, and this is a synergy of the government, the national government and the local governments. And right now, today we had the General Assembly in the International Bureau, and it was online because of the COVID-19 restrictions, and Ukrainian application was represented by Mikhailo Fedorov and Yulia Sviridenko, and a very talented girl from Odessa, Karina Kardash. And in my opinion, of course, our colleagues will share the recording of our presentation. I think that we are one of the top runners based on the first stage. So this is my brief presentation. Of course, Mr. Hennady and we talked about this, and we said that our country lacks some ambitious projects, and such projects have to start not only in Odessa but in other regions, and they should turn into national projects and national ideas. Thank you, Mr. Roman, and I'm sure that we will hear a lot more about your initiatives. We will hear from various media sources, and I sincerely wish you and the whole Odessa region success in this case. And now we're moving on to a short 15-minute coffee break, and our next discussion is crucial because the first session was about the analysis, the positions of the government, members of parliament, information about specific plans working in Ukraine. The second session will focus on how business diplomacy works. How can we promote information about successful Ukrainian businesses in other countries? And if I was a farmer from Ohio, for example, and if I were watching TV news about Ukraine, I would probably never invest in Ukraine. However, if I came to Rivne or Donetsk or Lviv or other Ukrainian city, and if I saw how the government is supporting businesses, how the businesses are working, I would definitely invest. And the next session is about how we can ensure effective channels of communication, effective business diplomacy, and how we can communicate the information effectively. So in 5 minutes, we are going to be back. We'll be back at 7 sharp. Please stay with us.
Друзі, це другий
Dear friend, this is the second annual forum Making UA, and we are back after the short break, and we will continue with the final discussion on business diplomacy in Ukraine and globally. Our discussion will be in English, so let me switch into English.
discussion, business diplomacy, Ukraine globally. Attracting investment in the manufacturing sector of Ukraine requires a large-scale promotional campaign in Ukraine and around the world. Business diplomacy and informal communication between the state, business, and experts to promote Ukraine's investment image shall become one of its key components. Such communication is important for promoting opportunities in Ukraine to international business circles, especially in times of global disinformation campaign. Also, such communication is crucial for receiving signals to improve the business environment. So please welcome our respected speakers. Olha Trofintseva, Ambassador at Large for the Exporters and Investors Council under the MFA of Ukraine. Andriy Sadovey, City Mayor of Lviv, who is joining us online. Pavlo Kirilenko, Head of Donetsk Regional State Administration. Vitaly Koval, Head of Rivne Regional State Administration. Pavlo Grod, President of the Ukrainian World Congress, President of Rodin Energy, who is also joining us tonight online. Antti Hunder, President of American Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine, who is also joining us online. Alexander Marcus, Chairman of the Board of German-Ukrainian Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Anna Derevyanko, Executive Director of European Business Association. Gennady Chizhikov, President of the European Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And finally, Marco Tasson, Honorary Consul of Ukraine in Italy, the President of Industria Ukraina. So this roundtable will be moderated by Alexa Chapivsky, Executive Director of Ukraine House in Davos, Deputy Chairwoman of the Supervisory Board of UkraineInvest. So she's joining us online from the United States. Alexa, hello, how are you doing? And can you hear us well?
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you.
Thank you. So if the connection is
Welcome,
stable,
everyone. Welcome, everyone, to
yours.
the panel. Thank you very much for that introduction. Welcome, everyone, to the panel, Business Diplomacy, Ukraine Globally, and greetings from Washington, D.C. Thank you to Sahit Sivkach for your leadership and to his UkraineInvest team for all of your hard work in producing today's important and timely event. It was wonderful, Sahit, to have you here in Washington and New York just 1 week ago, working with American investors and American institutions. UkraineInvest is a platform which, among other things, through its work, unites Ukraine experts from around the world with its so-called ambassadors placed in key cities and countries. On that note, we truly do have a global group of 10 panelists today. They are an all-star, high-energy panel, some of the most seasoned and knowledgeable stakeholders. They are respected leaders, business leaders, and advocates. They know Ukraine. Their boots are full-time or part-time on the ground. They speak from direct experience and their unique perspective about Ukraine to the world. They get feedback, many of them from their respected countries, and they bring it back to Ukraine. And we get to learn from them today. It's going to be an interesting hour ahead. 10 panelists and 1 hour. We have a lot to pack in. Thank you for being with us. They have already been introduced. I'd like to start with Ms. Trofintseva, but first, let's please take a quick look at this 2-minute video that was launched last year at Ukraine House Davos. Olha Trifimtseva, I'd like to start with you. The Exporters and Investors Council at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is a platform which unites Ukrainian producers, exporters, and leading business associations, providing support in promoting their goods and services abroad and in entering new markets, as well as attracting foreign investors and companies to Ukraine. Your stated goal is to strengthen business relations and promote economic cooperation between Ukraine and international stakeholders. What specific diplomatic tools is the MFA using under the auspices of perhaps its greatest resources, its vast network of embassies abroad?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexa. Thank you to organizers for such a great event, the Second Forum Making Ukraine. And I'm really glad to represent here the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Council for Exporters and Investors, which is really dealing and I would like to mention that we would like to make it like a single entry point for both Ukrainian businesses and I would say international partners, potential partners of Ukrainian businesses in all countries abroad to get the first touch. So normally, you know that embassies and our diplomatic representatives all around the world are the first contact point for the foreign companies, for the foreign businesses who would like to do business in Ukraine, both trade with Ukraine or invest in small scale, large scale, different kind of projects in all sectors. So the ministry is understanding the growing role of the economic diplomacy, of business diplomacy, and that's why it's continuously developing the different kind of the very concrete instruments and mechanisms, both for Ukrainian businesses and for the foreign businesses to let's say, to ease the way to each other. And it could include the trade missions or business missions. It could include the dissemination of information, conducting absolutely it's clearly in cooperation with other institutions, governmental and non-governmental institutions here in Ukraine and abroad, different kind of business forums. But we shouldn't forget about the high-level official visits, which are normally also used for the signing of different kind of the framework documents, which then could be the good basis for the development of the let's say, public-private partnership projects, large-scale public-private partnership projects, but also could be the good base for their different kind of the investment projects here in Ukraine on the one hand, but again, we can also be the good base for the development of the in a wider range, in a wider sense, business and trade relations. Among others, I can name the development of the digital instrument, which will be presented in the nearest future by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and which will be used by the both Ukrainian and foreign businesses and Ukrainian diplomatic institutions abroad, again, to make this communication faster, easier, because I think that's one of the main maybe requirements of the modern economy, to be faster and effective as possible to be the competitive worldwide, to be competitive globally. So that's in short not. I see that I don't have much time anymore, but this is a nutshell what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our Council of Exporters and Investors are doing right now.
Thank you, Olha, for that. I'd like to move next to Mayor Sadovy. Mayor Sadovy, you are Lviv's longtime mayor. Under your watch, there is a lot of interesting stuff coming out of Lviv, from startups to world-renowned Ukrainian companies associated with the global automobile industry and infotainment systems and electric vehicles. Lviv has the #2 busiest airport in Ukraine after Boryspil. Already this June, air traffic in and out of Lviv airport exceeded pre-pandemic numbers from June 2019. Soon, packages from Kiev will be arriving by drone to Lviv, courtesy of Nova Poshta. I have an image in my mind of you, sir, escorting the Hollywood star Tom Cruise around the city. He is interested to invest in Lviv as a filming location. In other words, Lviv is buzzing. Tell us, sir, please, from your perspective, why Lviv? What do you view as your competitive advantage, in particular vis-a-vis Europe and Lviv's proximity to the EU? And can you also please address any capital flight and brain drain from the city? What is the government doing to retain its well-known IT talent and to encourage them to become long-term participants in the economy?
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Ми є реалісти.
Dear colleagues, we are realists, and today we're talking during the time when 100,000 Russian army is staying at the border of our country, and we are talking about attracting investment. And today, investment is the issue of survival, and I want you to understand it very well, because very often we have some complaints about our colleagues from the European Union, why they are not as firm in their dialogue with Russia. But what do they have to protect? What they have to protect European values. But what contacts do we have with Italy, with Spain, with France? Unfortunately, last year we attracted a major investor of CTP company. We, as a result of very strong competition, and but the prosecutor general didn't like it, and the business owner against whom criminal proceedings were initiated, he said, "No way I'm investing in Ukraine anymore." And in parallel, we are building 3 industrial parks today, but none of the employees of prosecutor's office, they don't realize that they just killed the $1 million investment. And I think that these people deserve prosecution as well. And when we build an industrial park, we develop infrastructure around it. But so far, we haven't got any compensation. The city didn't receive any compensation for these costs, Now, I'm very pleased that now we have a very good communication with Minister Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs. He understands very well the importance of investment. But for many years, for some reason, we believed that Ukraine is so attractive that a cost of 1 meter of land is equal to the cost of land in Berlin or Paris, and we were losing in competition with other countries. And now you have to be realistic. You need to realize that each visit of the president of Ukraine or of the prime minister of Ukraine abroad is the very good opportunity to bring in an international manufacturer. For example, now we have an opportunity to bring to Lviv a foreign manufacturer of vehicles, because we have to procure, for example, buses and trolley buses for the city. We have to procure them abroad, and we have capacities to start our own production here. And again, I would like to highlight that it is about the survival of our country. The issue of investment is to be or not to be questioned. And I thank you very much. I wish you wisdom. And I would like to use this opportunity to invite you to Lviv to celebrate Christmas, either the Catholic Christmas or Greek Catholic or Orthodox Christmas. We will talk, and I think we will be able to find interesting cases and together do something good for our country. I thank you for inviting me to this round table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sadovy. I'd like to go to next. Let's talk about the regions. I'd like to go next to Mr. Koval. Mr. Koval, Rivne has earned itself a reputation as a maker of value-added products. And I'm thinking in particular of furniture. Almost half of the region is forest and woodlands. And natural resources aside, what are you doing to educate investors about Rivne's opportunities, and what mechanisms are in place to attract further investment?
Дякую, Олександр. Доброго вечора, колеги. Сьогодні на початку
Colleagues, good evening, dear colleagues. Today, at the beginning of our forum, the targets were announced. Each year, we are expected to raise 5 billion of investment, and but we thought at the beginning that this is a very ambitious goal, and I thought, why not? And really, we need success stories. I don't want to say that our oblast is one of the most successful oblasts, because we're still on the way to it. But I do want to declare the numbers that have already been achieved, the targets that have been achieved. The total value of foreign investment increased by 1st of April 2021, increased threefold compared to 2019. Of course, we all want quick wins, but each win has a connection with the to our efforts. And as for infrastructure, this year, Rivne Oblast constructed as many kilometers of roads as during the previous 4 years. And this is due to direct communication between the regional authorities and central executive authorities. And I'm very grateful to the organizers of this forum, UkraineInvest, the Chamber of Commerce and Trade, for the short time between the identifying of the problem and solving it. And we have ambassadors and lobbyists to advocate for our solutions, but it is important to find systemic solution that based on systemic efforts. And that in 5 years, nobody could name could say the last name of the head of Oblast State Administration or the head of the tax authority, because these authorities have a servicing function. And with the region, in the regions, we need to identify the gaps that we need to develop, because, for example, in our region, the timber processing products, because in our oblast, timber processing is an important sector, and we have quite powerful companies that are developing our economy and export timber processing products abroad. And we're very grateful to the President for the law on industrial parks. And next year, we will start building the third industrial park at the cost of the public budget. And we see very well how to develop further on. And very important component is education, in addition to business and authorities. The authorities are performing the servicing function, and they have two professionals for the sectors with high added value. And we have a roadmap developed, and the roadmap has very specific targets set. And without the targets, we will not be able to achieve results. We will not be able to achieve success. And I thank you for inviting me to this forum. And we need to remember that with the common goal, we can create history. And thank you, and goodbye.
Mr. Koval, thank you for your leadership and for your high goals. Potentially, I'd like to loop back to you with some questions, but first, I'm conscious of the time. I want to make sure that all of our panelists are able to speak. I'd like to go next to Mr. Kirilenko. Mr. Kirilenko is, of course, the head of the Donetsk Regional State Administration. Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts differ slightly from other oblasts in Ukraine, in that parts of them are occupied due to Russian aggression. Anna Derevyanko and I were speaking recently, and she brought up a good point. Israel, for example, has had the specter of military conflict hanging over its head and has arguably managed it successfully as a place to invest. It's not to say there won't be some bumps in the road, but it does require a mature, transparent, thoughtful, and communicative approach from the government. The international information space portrays Donetsk as an area of war. And yet, there's absolutely a peaceful part of Donetsk. The German company Knauf built a factory there before the war. Today, that factory continues working. I'm sure Alexander Marcus is familiar with them. How do you use business diplomacy to develop the region and promote the peaceful Donetsk to the world? What is stable, what is not stable, and what are you doing to attract and to reassure potential investors?
Good evening, dear participants of the forum. It's a very complex question, and I will try to answer very briefly and at the same time give a very informative response to this question. Really, Donetsk and Luhansk regions are different compared to other regions of Ukraine. Let's not forget that this difference has become very drastic starting from 2014, but at the same time, I would also like to point out the difference that even under the current conditions, under the conditions where these two regions exist, there are certain specifics and differences of these regions, but particularly the military conflict, the war is what unites these two oblasts, and these specific problems unite these two oblasts. So in 2014, a part of Donetsk Oblast, which is approximately 1/3 of the territory, is occupied. However, since 2015, I always rely on facts in my work. So since 2015, the oblast, the region, has been taking the second place when it comes to direct investment into the regions. So since 2015, if we rely on facts, if we rely on figures, These are 2.6 billion US dollars of indirect investment have been directed into Donetsk Oblast since 2015. The oblast is export oriented, and of course this is metal industry, this is engineering, and when it comes to attracting investments, the question of how we have a dialogue with investors and how much efforts are used and in these directions, the investments and the investors have not been scared by the situation, and they really came, and the investment tourism in the oblast is developing. First of all, when it comes to these proposals, we are always ready to offer, and we have submitted multiple offers when it comes to investment tourism in Oblast. In October 2021, an investment portal of Donetsk Oblast was presented and opened, and its key criteria involve the fact that Donetsk Oblast is not and should not be associated only as an industrial region with heavy metal industry, which is of course a key component of the oblast, but there is also processing industry, there's also a production of paper, production of chalk, and other manufacturing industries. So I am talking about the questions that we include in our offers to investors when we try to involve investors in large promo campaigns and when it comes to investment tourists. And the most important thing, as I can see, not all members of parliament stayed right now in the second panel discussion, but we are ready to submit our offers on when it comes to changes to the legislation that would guarantee the involvement of investment to various sectors of economy in Donetsk Oblast and guarantee provide guarantees when it comes to force majeure circumstances, especially when it comes to dealing with the zone with the territory close to the zone of conflict. We are ready to provide our offers to the legislative body, and those offers will become to provide some ensuring mechanisms in this field, and how these guarantees will be provided by the state. I completely agree with some of the speakers, with Andrei Sadovy, when he said that, in fact, European and other international investors have nothing to protect when they do not invest in Ukraine. So we will also consider this question, and we are considering the fact that when an investor enters the field, when we provide the full spectrum of all opportunities in the existing in Donetsk region, and the basis of the industry of this oblast are of course people, and I know this oblast very well, and I know how talented and hardworking people are there in this oblast, and this opportunity, and this will become a so-called magnet for investors. So the second place on direct investment, this is a fact. We are ready to provide all the offers on the directions of economy in the oblast to attract and further implement investments and conduct business dialogue and work on business diplomacy in this direction. And of course, also summing up, I would like to mention that from July 2019, one of my main goals when I started working as the head of the Oblast State Administration was considering Donetsk region with its potential, irrespective of these important, crucial problems that the oblast is facing. I wanted to present the oblast as a full and a key player, as a competitive player, as the territory of Ukraine and beyond, despite these difficulties that are existing right now. And we are ready to provide the whole mechanisms and provide the key aspects in the fields where we are ready to cooperate and we are ready to attract investors. All regions are different with different potential and different opportunities. But we should clearly understand that these very opportunities, this different potential is what is moving in our country and pushing our country towards the development and towards sustainable opportunities, and is what attracts the investment in Ukraine. Thank you for the time.
Mr. Kirilenko, sounds like you are on top of things, a lot of potential, and thanks for focusing on the long-term vision. You know, fruits to the Emirates, ceramics to France, metal to Italy. There's so much potential in Donetsk. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Next, I would like to go to Mr. Pavlo Grod. Pavlo, you are president of the Ukrainian World Congress. Prior to that, you were president of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. You're a lawyer and a business leader, an entrepreneur. You're president of Rodin Energy in Canada, where you are based. You have been very vocal, Paul, about the dual citizenship issue. Lay out for us, please, what it means and what's at stake here. How do you see dual citizenship being realized in Ukraine? And B, in what ways would it concretely deliver to the economic development of the country?
Well, thank you, and thank you for participation in this very important forum. I'd like to first start off with the Ukrainian World Congress's objectives. As you know, the Ukrainian World Congress represents the interests of a very large diaspora, somewhere between 20 to 25 million Ukrainians living outside of Ukraine. And our objective is to connect those people, but also use that network to promote a positive image for Ukraine, to build an international coalition to support Ukraine, both in terms of defending Ukraine's sovereignty, but also promoting its economic development, because we all know that both are inextricably connected. Our member organizations throughout the world promote doing business and investing in Ukraine through business councils, through chambers of commerce, business and professional associations, and of course, the Ukrainian World Congress's very own Economic Prosperity and Investment Council, where we're involved in such exciting projects like Davos, Ukraine House, all over in different parts of the world. And we're really proud to cooperate and work very closely with UkraineInvest and also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine and their trade commissions around the world, because they're key allies in Ukraine's economic development. And again, our objective as the Ukrainian World Congress is to promote business diplomacy by engaging, promoting, informing, and connecting the world to Ukraine. There are certainly some perception gaps that are important to address, and we are seeing that some of our challenges are often through disinformation around that Ukraine is a failed state. It's full of corrupt leaders and judges, and I think what's really incumbent upon us is not to shy away from that, but to address it head on, and that's what the Ukrainian World Congress is doing. And we are demonstrating to the world that Ukraine is transforming, and I'm going to use a phrase that my good friend Elena Kosarny uses very frequently, that let's get away from the discussion about reforming Ukraine. Let's talk about what Ukraine is doing in terms of its transformation. Ukraine is a success, and there are many examples that we will continue to point to. What I really want to focus on today is really how to engage that global Ukrainian community. And there's two different aspects to this. One is around foreign temporary workers, because as many of you and this is a stat that comes from the International Organization for Migration, it's a UN migration agency, that this year $12 billion was remitted into Ukraine by foreign temporary workers. That's about 8% of Ukraine's GDP. This coming year, it's expected to top that, to be $13 billion. And we see where that's coming from: Poland, the US, the UK. And so what we really need to do is focus on that. It's a really low-hanging fruit. What instruments do we do to help support that money being put towards investment instead of going into pure consumption? And we're certainly working on that as the World Congress and our EPIC committee. It's also really important to create an environment where these workers want to come back to Ukraine, want to invest in Ukraine, and that's an important investment not just for financial but also the human capital. Coming back to Ukraine after working abroad, after studying abroad, those are really important steps that need to be taken, and the government can do a lot to cut the red tape around that. But getting to your question, Alexa, the other key component of this is to create the environment, the mechanism for the global Ukrainian community to really get involved in the development of Ukraine as a successful economy, as a successful Euro-Atlantic country. And the question about citizenship is very critical. We see many examples of very successful countries in Central and Eastern Europe, Israel, the G7, that in fact promote dual citizenship, welcome their diaspora to come back, to take roles in government, in business, in academia, in the arts, in healthcare, and to really help build their countries out. And I think that's been unfortunately over the last 30 years, looking back at Ukraine's independence, that's really been a lost opportunity. But I think we're at a turning point where we're focusing forward, and we see great examples of that. We recently saw Ukrainian Canadian former ambassador Roman Vashchuk was recently appointed as the new business ombudsman in Ukraine. We see many leaders such as Olena Kozharny and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Danilo Bilak, Natalia Nemeriuska, countless others that are very active in Ukraine. And we want to see that continue to grow. We know millions have left Ukraine since independence, and millions have left over the last 130 years. That's a huge brain power potential. So our objective is to reconnect that 65 million Ukrainians. And one key aspect is to allow welcome those Ukrainians to come back, to take citizenship, and to be strong enablers to enable Ukraine's economy. And what's really important is that is the current situation. There are millions of Ukrainians outside of Ukraine that have left within the last 30 years that do have a foreign passport. And what's important is to allow them to also maintain their Ukrainian passports, their Ukrainian citizenship, and their foreign passports, which currently is not permitted. So the key message here, and we've been in discussions with the President of Ukraine and Verkhovna Rada around how do we make this realistic? Because we do understand that the dual citizenship question has become very politicized, especially from a security perspective. And we believe that there are very simple and straightforward ways to protect Ukraine from passportization, as some have said. And that's very simply by allowing Ukraine or having Ukraine to basically sign cooperation agreements with countries that they want to recognize dual citizenship. And of course, Russia is going to be the most problematic and may never, ever be recognized. But it's really important for countries like Canada, the United States, UK, etc., to really engage that global Ukrainian diaspora to play a greater role in Ukraine's social, economic, and political development. And so that's a really key message here that I'd like to deliver to the audience, that there is that untapped potential and that we should be looking to systemically develop that great resource. So maximize the capacity of the Ukrainian diaspora and our Friends of Ukraine network around the world. Thank you very much for your time.
Paul, that sounds like a win-win to me. Thank you for your work in promoting this idea. I'd like to go to Anna Derevyanko next, President of the European Business Association. Ukraine is Europe. It continues its economic integration with the European Union on the basis of the Association Agreement and the DCFTA. Anna, if you could please talk about Ukraine's strategic significance to Europe as an investment destination in the eyes of your member companies. What makes Ukraine a strategic place for EU countries to do business and to invest?
Many thanks, Alexa. Good evening to everyone. I would like to say, first of all, thank you to UkraineInvest. It seems to be they're doing a fantastic job in order to attract as much as possible different investors. When it comes to the businesses, we clearly see positive signs of development in the country. We as the business community would like to underline a few of positive changes which are worthwhile to mention. I would like to start from the cooperation with IMF, because the business community sees that as a clear positive anchor, and macroeconomic stability. Plus, we would like to mention decentralization as a very good point for development. We would like to mention that digitalization is something of very positive nature, and the voice of businesses really be heard. When it comes to the EU, European Union, obviously it remains the main trading partner, which is responsible for more than 40% of Ukrainian trade. And we see that this is the street for two-way street, because actually from one side we export from Ukraine, from the other side we import from the EU. And when it comes to the exports from the Ukrainian economy, we see clear champions. It's obviously this year furniture, and here we have the signs from Rivne, for example, that they are doing well in terms of furniture. We also see agricultural products which are also moving out from Ukraine. So lots of good success stories which we can really say about. But I would like to also mention that Ukrainian different sectors of business development are really doing excellent. We represent more than thousands of companies operating in Ukraine, and I can tell you that they are all can be considered as success stories. Basically, when it comes to different segments, I can underline that the first and very quickly developing is IT and creative sector, as a creative economy, creative industries in general. Because IT sector within recent 15 years have grown more than 100 times. And by the way, we would like to praise Verkhovna Rada, which today supported tax part of Dia City, and we as EBA supported it very much, and we understand that it can give further boost for IT sector development. Additional sector which is really developed and it gets excellent operational results, financial results, it's banking. I am part of the supervisory board of Raiffeisen Bank, and I can tell you they are really doing fantastic job. Agriculture, I think that everyone can mention that, and I can tell you that, for example, European companies like BASF, Bayer, they are using Ukraine as a platform for R&D development. And sometimes such companies in food sector as Nestle are using Ukraine as outsourcing center. So lots of that can be developed as a stories for a long period of time and for a long timing. But nevertheless, I would like to say that it's possible to do business here, and it's possible to be active here. It's possible to be successful despite all those hurdles, barriers, bad perception of Ukraine. I believe that we are doing fantastic jobs as a business community. And I think that we need your investments in here because with them, we will be even stronger.
Thank you, Anna, for that macro picture. I'd like to now drill down to Germany. Let's focus on Germany. Alexander Marcus. How do German investors view Ukraine as an investment location, and what sectors appeal most to them? What does Ukraine offer to German investors in business that other countries in the region do not?
Thank you very much, Alexa. What is Ukraine offering to German investors at the moment? It's, first of all, it's workforce, because we don't find enough workforce anymore in Germany. Just today, I had a meeting with a representative of a German investor who is going to build a plant here in agriculture sphere. They will produce agricultural equipment, and they said that it's not a matter of payment. It's just you don't find, or it's very difficult to find employees in Germany today, young employees that are ready to go in manufacturing. And that is the difference. You find those people and those employees here in Ukraine. And what we see is the change of business model, because 15 years ago, we had companies coming into Ukraine that were most of all, or first of all, interested in cheap workforce. But this is obviously changing. Today, we see companies coming into the country and they are looking for a much longer part of the value-adding chain, and that is, if they have this longer part of this chain, they will pay higher salaries, and that is a very good sign. So you know, the interesting thing for this year, if I sum it up from a German point of view, especially during the last month, we had very difficult news, and we all know the news we heard about Ukraine, and at the same time, we never had more inquiries concerning companies, German companies that are interested in Ukraine than all the 10 years that I'm working here before. I can't even explain why that is so, but that is really the fact, and it's very good for the country, because you are living in a propaganda war. Everyone knows this. And with every foreign investor, with every German investor is publishing an investment project here in Ukraine, this is true. This person gets a phone call from someone in Russia asking, why are you investing in Ukraine? This is no joke. This really happens. And it did not happen once. It happened twice, 3, 4 times. If you have a German company that invested, I don't know, 5 years ago in Russia, and then the mayor puts up the phone and asks, why are you investing in Ukraine? Why don't you invest your money in Russia? With every additional investor you attract into this country, you are winning a war. And at the same time, I have to say, we have German investors here, some of them they are here at this conference, that are suffering from contracts that are not fulfilled. Everyone may know what I'm speaking about. So if you don't care for those investors that are here, and if you don't serve the contracts that Ukraine has closed with them, this is a very difficult sign. So, but overall, we see a very good picture at the moment for Ukraine and for German companies that are interested to manufacture here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alexander, for that feedback. I'm conscious of the time. I'd like to move next to Gennady Chizikov. He's the head of the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, which unites around 8,000 members. You are global. You have branches in over 56 countries. You are known as the voice of small and medium business in Ukraine. Talk to us, Gennady, about that small and medium business climate. Is Ukraine a good place to be an entrepreneur? Why or why not? And please share with us some specific examples. Let's talk about trends. You've led the chamber for 8 years now. Where is the trajectory heading?
Дякую, Олекса. Я хотів би теж привітати всіх з такою класною конференцією.
Thank you, Alexa. I would like to congratulate everyone with this conference, with this forum, because it's a very good opportunity to talk frankly at the round table. That's right. The Chamber of Commerce and Trade is the biggest organization in terms of members, and it is present in every region of Ukraine. Speaking about investment, where is the investment starts and where it ends? And people ask me, why are you talking about tourism? And I say, nobody will know about us when people stop traveling here. And the main interest of the country is when you sit in Turkey on the seashore and you talk to some fellow tourist and you say, my business is doing well, and what about yours? Speaking about investment for small and medium-sized businesses who are just learning to enter the new markets, because our country by territory is bigger than France, but we have only 16,000 companies trading abroad, and this is a very small number, maybe 2-3% of all the entrepreneurs in our country. While in Estonia, more than 50% of small businesses trade abroad. And it's a very big potential. We need to teach our small and medium-sized businesses not to be afraid to step out to foreign markets and to sell their products. Because Ukrainian market is big, but not that big actually. Because when Ukrainian companies enter foreign markets, they see that their products are in demand in foreign markets, and they come back to invest to Rivne Oblast, to Vinnytsia Oblast, somewhere else, because they know that their products are wanted and there is demand for their products. We have, speaking about decentralization, there are many rayons that received power and received opportunities, and they're looking for ways to attract businesses and to attract investment to their territories. And I want to say that when Ukrainian businesses, first of all, small and medium-sized businesses, start investing to their own oblasts, this means trust. And the biggest challenge now for the coming 2 or 3 years is to learn how to invest in your own country. And then there will be more trust from big investors. Because today we were talking about billions and millions, and small restaurants and small shops cost $10,000–$20,000, and these are also investments. And we need to think what is better for us: 100 times by $50,000, or once $5 million, and we will be waiting for this $5 million for 10 years. So we need to realize that for the first time in our history, we realize that human capital is the main asset of this country, because when people started leaving the country, we realized that our main assets are leaving the country. It's not coal, it's not other things, other resources, it is the human capital. About 2 million Ukrainians work in Poland, and we never hear any bad feedback about the quality of their work. Ukrainians opened more than 20,000 Ukrainian enterprises in Poland. In little Bulgaria, more than 600 Ukrainians started up their businesses in Bulgaria. This means that it is very important for us. And to sum up, I want to say, to talk about another positive news, that in Ukraine, it's not only businesses that join their efforts, but they also get together into business associations. Chamber of Commerce and Trade, American Chamber of Commerce, 12 international associations, 12 business associations joined into the Chamber of Commerce and Trade to help attract investments to Ukraine, because it is very important for Ukraine. Thank you.
Ukrainian entrepreneurs. I think that's a very important takeaway from this session. Thank you for that. Last but not least, Mr. Marco Tosin. He's the president of Confindustria Italia in Ukraine. He represents UkraineInvest in Italy and also serves as the consul of Ukraine in Italy. Marco, what are you hearing as feedback from Italian investors in business? And is there a vibrant government-to-government relationship? How do you see that relationship developing, and in what sectors in particular?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm the last one, but Italy doesn't want to be the last one partner for Ukraine. Okay. So thank you very much for my people that speak before me and for the question. Italy, in this moment, have a quite big relation with Ukraine, and our Minister of Foreign Affairs was one of the first that came in the last months after COVID, to Ukraine, and so we try to establish a stronger relation with Ukraine. I want to give you some data, general data, just to give you a figure what is happening and what is Italy in general. Italy is composed of many small and medium companies, okay, which is quite active and quite operative all around the world. In Ukraine, sometimes you cannot recognize them, because are under other names or other things. For example, today we have a big event for Gattinoni, famous fashion brand here in the world that is today is in Kiev. But in general, I want to give you nice data that maybe you can figure out what is happening in general for Italy. In the last 20 years, around 50,000 Italian companies transferred their production to Romania. Okay, so 50,000 companies transferred their completely production, but big production in Romania. In Ukraine, we count around 200 companies. So what's happening is meaning that there is a big gap that must be arrived to focus this type of things. For my opinion, there is a big space for Italian company to arrive to the market and to participate to this. Why Italian company doesn't come to Ukraine? First of all, for the bad communication. Nobody knows at all about the safety of Ukraine and the government what is doing. What we are trying to do with UkraineInvest, with different associations, with different things, we try to promote the confidence in the country, to be confident to be here in this country and to be really realistic that is a productive country with good people that can be active and do this type of things. What we are doing, for example, a big program of twin city activity, for example, with the Major Sadovi that was speaking, I don't know if he's still in the line, but we are doing a twin city with Lviv region, which there is a lot of big presence of Italian companies in this area, which are producing textile, mechanical, also in the tourism. They are working a lot in the tourism industry, okay, for activity. There is a big segment for automobile. I'm sorry to say to Mr. Marcus that represents Germany, but a lot of companies for German market are producing in Italy, and Italy produce in other countries for Germany. Okay, and as say, we are trying to be present in Ukraine because we believe in this country. I like what is doing the government in this moment, try to facilitate this activity. So this is a big trend that I'm a little bit experienced in this market from a long time, and really in this time I see a big difference in what is the Ukrainian government doing in the market. So this is a very positive message. For sure, in the time we have a lot of big problems because also we have a company that was located in Donetsk area, that was located in Lugansk, okay, so it was occupied territory and it was producing Plitka, and now they are moving to other side. We have company that was located in Crimea, a big industry for mechanical part, for hydraulic and mechanical part was located in Crimea, and luckily they transport completely the company in Kiev. So in this moment there is a big, huge company that are transported the activity here under other name, but they are transported here. What do we need to give to the Italian company to be really eradicated and present here? A total system that also prepare the young people to be integrated in the manufacturing side and this. This is why we are trying also to collaborate very much in the university sector, which is very important to create the right attitude for the people in order to work and to collaborate with the Italian part. So I see a lot of vision, good vision for the project that has been launched for industrial park, and this is a big sector which is facilitating with some activity the Italian company to be present with some grant or with some activity that can be help from taxation and this. So this is a good field. And you must take note that also in this moment EBRD or European Bank is financing a lot, especially the green sector, and there is a lot to do in Ukraine for the green sector. So this is a big field, big line that we need to follow. So what to can say, just to conclude this nice forum that Sergey invited me today, and was quite nice to talk with you, very friendly with a lot of people, also with you, calling from United States that directly there, is I see positive things for Ukraine for the future. We need to work together, have a target together, and we try to combine interest from different countries and interest for Ukraine for growing the right way. I think a big space on that. Thank you very much.
Marco, thank you very much for playing such a leadership role in terms of furthering Ukrainian-Italian relations. This was very interesting for us. Thank you. So to sum up, I see we're running out of time here. It's been a long day. It's been a full day. It's been a substantive day. And this is all thanks to Serhiy Tsivkach and to the UkraineInvest team. Thank you very much for producing today. Just to sum up this particular panel, Ukraine has key allies based in major international capitals and countries. There are synergies, there's cooperation, there is support available to you as investors and as potential investors led by UkraineInvest and its partners. Please utilize these resources in order to learn the real situation on the ground. Another takeaway, don't trust the TV news. Come see for yourself and make judgments based on your firsthand experience. Ukraine confounds expectations. That's the feedback I get from my foreign colleagues who visit Ukraine. Thank you, Serhiy. Thank you to the UkraineInvest team. Thank you to these incredible panelists for your valuable time and insights today.
Thank you very much, Alexa, for hosting such an interesting panel. Thank you very much. Отож, друзі, настала мить завершувати.
So, friends, it's time to conclude our event today, and I would like to thank to all the speakers for your important comments, to thank you, the moderators. I want to give a huge thank you to the participants and everyone who was participating in the organization of the event, of the second annual event Make in Ukraine, and Make in UA, and we hope that this event not only demonstrated the achievements of Ukraine, but helped to improve the investment climate of Ukraine and its manufacturing production potential, and I hope that it also inspired potential investors and businesses to invest in Ukraine. And let me thank you, the partners who joined the organization of this event. So the forum was organized by Ukrainian Government Investment Promotion Office, Ukraine Investment Corporation with the Competitive Economy in Ukraine program, which is supported by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. The goal of this program is to improving the competitiveness of Ukrainian startups, so small and medium-sized enterprises in Ukraine, and increasing the competitiveness of Ukrainian products and services in international markets. Excuse me. The main media partner of the event is Interfax-Ukraine. Thank you for your support, and we are also very grateful to the information partners, which is World Ukrainian Congress, Norwegian Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, and European Business Association, French Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, and American Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine, German and Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, and British Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon. Can I have a very short comment? I was just asked that you have a new topic every year. What is the topic of the next event? I suggest naming it Make in UA Results, because what we will do this year, it depends on us, it depends on the partners, it depends on our thinking, on our planning, and on how we implement our plans. Thank you to all the speakers, thank you to everyone who supported us, thank you to the USAID program, and I would like to thank a lot to the UkraineInvest team. I know that you slept very little during the last week, I mean very, very little, and I hope that by the new year you will get an opportunity and celebrate this holiday with your families. Thank you a lot, and thank you for investment nannies and communicational departments and analysts and everyone who works with us. You are great. Thank you, and see you.